If I had to go back though, I might have opted to not having the inversion done, just because it's such a pain. Like, it really is. All right, so let's talk about post-op maintenance. Now, I had a comment with somebody stating that they wanted to know more about like maintenance after post-op. You know what I mean by post-op? I mean by like bottom surgery. So with post-op, it's not what you think, and it's not fun, I guess you could say. Yeah, it's quite annoying, actually. Okay, so let's kind of like backtrack this whole thing just a little bit, and we will talk about kind of like post-op SRS aftercare and then we'll kind of go into like maintenance. So, aftercare. Now, everyone's going to kind of experience this differently, because you're going to have different doctors, you're going to have different ways that people do things and the way that they've done the types of surgery. It also depends on like what kind of surgery have you had. So if you have the gender affirming surgery with the vaginal canal, or so I think it's called like the penile inversion, that's the one I had done. And that's the one we'll kind of focus on, because obviously I didn't have the other one. And they reconstruct like the vagina to make it look as real as possible without having the canal. So with that said, I do have some regret, I guess, and I'm going to explain why. The maintenance afterwards is not what you would expect. My initial thought to all of this was, and I don't know if it's by a lot of us or if it was just more me, or there's only a few of us, but when growing up, like, I always imagined, like, I would have given anything at that time to, like, physically, like, take my consciousness out of me, place it into, a biological woman. That would have been amazing. That would have been fantastic. I would have given anything for that. So in your mind, even as a child, like, that's how I felt that this whole thing was going to be like afterwards. Like, that it was like, I was going to have the surgery. It was going to be like an inversion, and it was going to work kind of like the same, even though I knew the logistics of it, and I knew what it actually entailed. But you still hold on to that hope that, like, it's going to work very similar. It's going to be very, very similar. Yeah. From my experience, it's not. Sorry, I'm just getting over like a tail end of a cold, so if I'm a little congested, I'm sorry. Looking back at it now, I would probably, I don't know, it's like a 50-50. Would I still have the canal created, knowing what I know now? Maybe not. I don't know. I mean, it's a lot of work. The aftercare of it, the constant dilation, like, it's annoying. It takes some time. It doesn't have to, you don't have to take like a lot of time, but it definitely takes some time, and it doesn't feel that great. Like, so this March will be 2 years of having my, after having my surgery. And for me, it doesn't really feel great, like, at all. So that's kind of like a downside. Now, obviously everyone's going to experience this differently. And, I thought because of who I was before, like, my sex drive was like, heightened. It was like, it was a lot. Like, I was very sexually active. It was just, yeah. And going from that to where I'm at now, it's like completely shut off. And I thought that it was going to feel differently, which it kind of does when you're in the moment. Like, if you are, kind of like playing around and things like that, like, you can kind of enjoy it somewhat for the most part. I also haven't been with anybody to like a partner or anything like that, so I can't relate to that side of it, so I don't know. But the feeling and sensation of the actual canal is not that great. I will say though, like, if you are playing, it works really well. I have no issues with that at all. I know some people are afraid of that they'll never be able to have, the big O, like or anything, have like an orgasm afterwards, and they're afraid that having this done, and I'm sure there are some cases where people, aren't able to, but my experience was I was actually able to. It just takes more of a mental, it's more mental stimulation than actual physical stimulation. You need the physical stimulation, obviously, but it's also like a mental game. Like you have to, it's a different experience, and you'll understand once when you have it done, or if you have had it done, you'll know what I'm talking about. It works fine for me. I've had zero issues. Like the first time I actually tried was like probably 8 weeks after, 9 weeks after. I actually did try to like just to see what it like everything was, and kind of look at everything, because everything was pretty healed by that time as far as like the exterior part of it. And it's definitely sensitive. Like everything is numb. Like there's a lot of like nerve endings that are not connected, that haven't met yet, and they're like not connected. So you're gonna feel a lot of like numbness when you go to like actually touch the skin around the area, which is kind of weird. It's kind of like going to the dentist and you like touch after they, like, if you had like a filling or something like that, it just feels numb. But as things like, as you're going about, like you'll feel tingling in that area, and it's actually really an interesting feeling, because you'll feel the connections are being made again, and you'll start feeling like pins and needles and like different like tingling sensations, not in a bad way, just in a very interesting feeling, an interesting way of like as you're doing things. So that was like a really cool feeling. As you're working, you just all of a sudden start, like, everything starts tingling, and you're like, kind of looking around like, what's going on here. If I had to go back though, I might have opted to not having the inversion done, just because it's such a pain. Like it really is. And I don't, maybe if I had like a partner, I would definitely feel differently. And correct me if I'm wrong, like if you do have a partner and you have tried it, and like, I don't know, like I can't say for that side, because I just, like I said, I haven't experienced that side of it. But when I had the surgery done, the basic foundation and structure of the vagina, and not actually have the inversion, healing time is like way faster, and it's just easier to maintain. It's just pretty much cleaning. So in that sense, yeah, that's definitely like kind of like the way to go if you're not interested in doing that. The inversion definitely has more side effects, I guess you could say. One of the big ones that I've noticed with mine is the depth. Like the depth, I've lost quite a bit of depth. And now I didn't do it like, I wasn't like rigorously and religiously doing it they want you doing it like 3 times a day. And with my work schedule and everything like that, like when I first had it done, like I was trying to maintain a schedule, because I was like gung-ho, like let's go, let's do this. Like I just went through hell and back to have this done. I'm gonna do it right. So while I was out for like 7 weeks or so, I was trying to be as like just on a schedule as possible. And then you realize like how annoying that gets real fast. And if you've had the surgery, then you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you're gonna find out. So, and this is not to scare you away. This is not to say like, oh my God, don't do it. Like, just everyone has their own thing. Like this was just my experience. So, coming out of the hospital, I know I'm kind of like all over the place. I'm still coming down, like I'm still on the tail end of like the cold. So I'm like just kind of feeling, but I just wanted to kind of talk about this, because I did read the comment, and I was like intrigued by like, yes, I've done a video where I talked about the surgery, but I kind of wanted to do like a recap of the whole thing. So after coming home and doing like all like, kind of like a strict regimen of like dilating, And then I started going back to work, and I found it was like, I couldn't do it. Like the nurses and everybody was like, oh, while you're at work, just take like 10 minutes, go in the bathroom, dilate, and then go back to work and stuff like that. I tried that, and that's not, it doesn't work that well. So I kind of put an end to that real fast. And then I started doing it in the morning before work, and I'd do it when I came home. And I stayed pretty good with doing that, and that was totally fine. Afterwards, like, months and months went by, and I started realizing, like, I wanted to do it less and less because it was just so annoying to do. Like, setting up, kind of like setting up a towel, getting it all ready to go. Like, it was just kind of like a pain. But I still stuck with it, like, because I'm like, okay, I just went through all this, like, I'm going to do it, right? So I went through the whole thing. I was doing it. Then finally, like, a year comes up. And at this point now, you're just like, you're so sick of it. You're so tired of constantly having to do it. And then all of a sudden, at some point along those lines, it kind of hits you like, you're going to be doing this the rest of your life. I mean, unless you have like a partner or something like that where you're like with somebody. But if you're just doing it to keep the depth and to keep it, relevant, you're going to be doing this for the rest of your life. And it's, twice a week, one time a week, whatever. So after the 1 year, it kind of like hit me. I'm like, oh, this is it. This is like now the rest of my life, that I'm going to be doing this. So I would, instead of doing it like that, like setting up on the bed and like just like watching TV or whatever, I would, you have like these flexible ones, like more of like a flexible ones that you can kind of like, use like while you're doing things around the house and whatnot. So I would do that. I would put the dilator in, and I would sit and just kind of watch TV and just leave it in for a while, and then, kind of do some stuff, and then I would like take it out like a little while later. And that's all fine and dandy, but like, it still doesn't feel that great, and it's just, I don't know. I felt it just really annoying to me. Can you handle maintenance on your own? Say, for instance, if you were having the surgery done and you weren't able to have anyone come and help you, or you didn't have anyone to help you, is it possible? I would say yes. I would say it's definitely possible. It's definitely going to be harder, but it's possible. So again, everyone's surgeon is going to do things a little differently. The way mine went, and for those that don't know, I had mine done in Boston, and those surgeons were like top-notch, fantastic hospitals, like some of the best hospitals in the country, and definitely recommend. So if you're looking for something or looking for someone that's like really, really good and they know their stuff, like I would check into like the Boston hospitals. So they basically, like, after they have it all done, you have the catheter in, they have two drains coming out, like kind of like on the lower back half of like the inner part of like your thigh, but like on the back part. And those drains that come out, they just kind of like take out the excess blood that's like pooling up inside, and they keep it from, like internal bleeding. So it's constantly draining, and it's creating like a suction. Like they squeeze the little bulbs, and when they release it, it creates like a suction, and it just constantly sucks the blood out. And, so that's kind of like, that's when you're in the hospital. The last day that I was in the hospital, those drains come out. They put a bandage on them, and now I think they didn't stitch them. I think they just kind of clotted them. They're just really small incisions with like little hoses or like little tubes, and they kind of just, they just clot them. But so when you go home though, you have to constantly clean that. You have to change it, and that part of it is hard. So I did have help with that. And the first week that I was home is I had to have the catheter in. So I have to, I had to set up like kind of like a bedside table next to me. I had like a little hook on it to hang the, to hang the catheter bag and everything on it. And so that way when I would sleep, I would kind of like sleep out, like slightly elevated, like on my back. And, you have like the drain kind of like going out to the side, and just hanging off the side of the bed. Or you can hook it up on the side of the bed. And in your mind, like, I was always worried, like, oh my God, I'm going to roll over, it's going to yank or something like that. But I think subconsciously while you're sleeping, like, not to move, like, you're literally like a statue. Like, you just lay so totally still. It's actually kind of funny. And you do that for like I had it for like, I think I had it for like 6 days, 7 days afterwards, after I got home. And so you have to like kind of like work around that. So you have to change it. There's bandages that are like on the top of the catheter, like kind of like under the hose. So like the catheter kind of comes out and goes around like this. And there's like packing like inside your canal, one, to keep the depth, because it's like a fresh wound. So they pack it. And so you have like the packing, and you also have like all the like clotting pads, and you have like just like sterile pads and everything like that, like stacked and stacked and stacked. So it's like it's kind of weird looking. It's kind of funny. And all of that, you have to like change all of that out constantly, and you have to change like the patch, like the bandages where the drains were. So to do all that, it was definitely like a challenge. It's not impossible, but it's definitely a challenge. So if you have somebody that can help you, I would definitely recommend getting someone to help you. If not, it's not impossible. Don't feel like it's the end of the world. You can do it. Pain-wise, it's not, the initial like coming out of the surgery is not that bad, because one, you're on like heavy pain meds and like Tylenol and stuff like that, and they just give you like a constant flow of this. And again, depending on the doctors and depending on your situation, that might be different. But with me, it was, they alternated between like Tylenol and whatever pain meds they were giving me at the time. I'm not sure what it was. But so they were giving me all like that. And so I had this nice cocktail flowing. So for the first week, there wasn't much pain. You could kind of feel the pain a little bit as like the meds were wearing off, but it wasn't unmanageable. Then after coming home, another worry is like having the catheter in. Like, does that hurt? Do you feel it? When you're moving around, stuff like that? I didn't really feel it. My experience was I didn't really have any issues with it at all. Other than the fact that you constantly feel like you're peeing, which is like just a weird sensation. Like you just constantly feel like you're peeing, and it's super weird. But you just kind of get used to it, and there's not a whole lot you can do, because you're just like sitting. You just literally sit around all day and you do nothing because you're trying to heal, right? But you can like move around. Like I was active, so like after the first week of like 5 days, or what was I in the hospital? 4 days in the hospital. 4 days in the hospital. After when I was getting ready to leave that morning, I was up. I was taking a shower. It was fine. Like it was manageable. In your head, you're like, oh my God, this is going to hurt. You're going to be in so much pain. So you're very careful about everything you do. And you're very swollen. Like, holy crap, like you're wicked swollen down there. But it wasn't unmanageable, and it was definitely doable. So, I recommend getting a donut. Like I ordered mine off of Amazon. Getting a donut to sit on the ride home, because you're going to want some cushion, because you do have the catheter in, you're swollen, you're sore, and you need to take some of that pressure off. So I did use the donut for probably close to like five weeks, like a solid month. Like I was definitely using, I think, especially on like a harder surface, so like on like a kitchen chair or something like that, where if it didn't have like any padding or anything like that, I was using a donut, because like the pressure of sitting down was very uncomfortable. It didn't necessarily hurt, but it was very uncomfortable. And even sitting like on a couch, a soft surface, there was still a lot of pressure that needed to be released, or relieved, I should say. So the donut definitely helped with that. But overall, maintenance wise, after the fact, I know this is kind of like way over thought out and just a lot of rambling, and I don't know if this was actually very helpful, but the aftercare of this all is actually not bad. The initial couple of months, yes, you're going to have some, you're going to probably want to have somebody just to help you change some bandages, like help you kind of move around and get things. It's definitely not impossible. It is very doable. And I would say if you want to have, intimacy with like a partner or something like that, and you do the inversion, I'm sure it's probably going to feel differently than my experience. But way things are right now, like I don't have a partner, so I don't know, but it's, it's not what I imagined. It's not the way, like it works. It looks fantastic. It works fantastic. So I hope this was like somewhat helpful. I hope I was able to answer some questions with this. There's not really, like, the maintenance afterwards is not that bad. It's just the constant dilation. That's the most annoying part, is the dilating. If you don't dilate, you're gonna lose that depth. Anyway, enough rambling. I hope that was helpful. But if there's anything else you want to hear or talk about, or anything with my experience, just let me know, and I would be more than happy to talk about it. All right, I hope you all take care. Have a great day.